Ever have one of those days where you sit down at work and it feels like 3 hours have gone by? You look at the clock and it's been 15 minutes. Or you sit to play your favorite game and you think to yourself, it's only been 30 minutes. Meanwhile, half the night has passed you by. Yeah, I had that the night I came up with the idea of the zoo. Welcome to the clock. Before I get to telling you about the zoo, I want to apologize for being absent these past few weeks. The cold I was starting to deal with in the last video before Christmas turned out to be a lot worse than I expected, and I'm still dealing with the lingering cough that's been sapping my energy. And I just didn't want to have to try and deal with holding off the coughing and the clearing of the throat while recording. So I took some time to recover, but I can't take any more time, so I'm back. I'll just have to edit out the coughing. Maybe I'll make a cough counter. Anyways, on to the topic for zoo. The clock is a time challenge based zoo, shaped in a clock with 12 sections. Each section will take precisely the hour it corresponds to. So, today's video I took exactly 1 hour to do the habitat. Next week's will be 2. This will carry on to 12 hours and it can't be cut down or extended. While in the between ranges of let's say 2 to 5 hours will feel like not a hardship, the first one felt like a rush, and I expect the ones that will take 8 or more hours will feel suffocating, because I'll actually have to use those hours. I feel like this will be interesting because I tend to stick with around the 3 to 6 hour range, with one going up to a combined 10 hours over weeks, the Triceratops habitat that I redid specifically. But that one was a large exhibit and took up a lot of space, and I had freedom. These ones are strictly 4.8k to 5k meters squared, so I'll eventually have to shove 12 hours worth of work into a tiny little space and hope it comes out well. This could be a really good learning experience to see how I can shove so much work into something and make it look good. That brings me to the rules for this. Why rules, Ellie? You can do whatever you want in your own zoo. True. However, where's the fun in a challenge if I'm all alone? So, you'll get to join me if you want. A blank of the zoo will be available for you to download and take on the challenge too if you want. So here's the rules. They're pretty simple. You must take exactly the allotted time that the zone calls for. 1 for 1 hour, 2 for 2 hours, 11 for 11 hours, etc. You do not have to do it all in one sitting though. That's not healthy. Break it up over a few days or even weeks. Each zone must be a different dinosaur. So you can't just have a giant ring for a single dinosaur and call it good. We may not just build an enclosure and then rebuild it to extend the timer. You must commit to the idea you start working on. However, rebuilding parts that you are not happy with is fine. I understand the first pass of a building or cliff isn't always perfect. You can delete the back walls to create scenery, but the dinosaurs cannot leave the predetermined habitat barriers that are in the blank zoo. You are allowed to change up the central region however you'd like, while the habitat ring is what's important that it not change. You can change the fences. Feel free to adjust terrain too, but as noticed in this video, because of how the barriers and pathing are, it can cause issues. I think that's about it for the rules. To be fair, this isn't heavy competition and there's no prizes, other than sharing what you've made, and possibly having it showcased on a video the week after the last episode. I'll pick my 3 top favorite ones if they get submitted, and maybe a couple honorable mentions, and we'll tour them as a video. I'll talk more about how to share these parks to me in episode 12. But feel free to head over to my Discord, share pics, clips, and discussions about this. I'm excited to see everyone's zoo. With that all said, I'm going to take a couple minutes to talk about the enclosure. Since it was my first one, I felt really uneasy going in, and really rushed with the 1 hour time limit. I normally spend a lot more time, but I discovered that a lot of my extra, in quotations, time is spent on shaping the habitat, shaping the land, moving things about, and just generally finding the things I needed. With this challenge, I have a self-imposed rule where I can't pre-plan the way I normally would. I load up the game, have 5 minutes to figure out what animal I'm working on, and go from there. I do have the zoo set to fully creative, no illnesses or welfare, so I don't have to worry about overcrowding or loneliness, or even if the space isn't perfect. but I still, as a whole, try to keep it within their guidelines. But I'm not stressing if I'm out one way or the other. The whole point of this is to learn to trust in my process and to learn how to isolate one or two really important viewpoints and not try to make a 360-degree fully viewable enclosure. I found myself drifting back to that in my later videos in the previous series, where I was constantly trying to make the habitat look good from every angle, and it started to look sloppy. Meanwhile, the exhibits that I choose a specific viewpoint from, I'm much happier with. I think having the predetermined habitat space and pathway will help with that issue, but also I'm using this to learn how to be better use of my time. A lot of times when I'm doing videos for you all, I'm either so rushed I forget a lot of details and I feel like I failed, or I have too much time spent on the enclosure and I second guess myself a lot. Maybe that second one is more of a confidence issue? Either way, as I say, every series I want to do better and I want to learn more, and I see I've come a long way from the first Prehistoric Kingdom video I did. And I've learned a lot. I think I could easily go back to that zoo and redo it so much better. Maybe that's another challenge for the future. Although, maybe not. Speaking of the previous series, I did want to pick up our last zoo and finish it, as I had one more biome containing 3 or 4 enclosures to do on the backside of the Tyrannosaurus Rex habitat. But since the zoo has been updated to the new version of the game, all my creatures are sick, and I mean every one of them. So I have tons of vets slowly working through them all to get them healthy so I can stop having 79 alerts of sick dinosaurs. So it will be some time to get back to that zoo, as I really don't want to sell them all and move on. Some of the dinosaurs that have been breeding in the background have interesting colors that don't show up in the normal dinosaur looks. So I'd like to keep them. Maybe I'll isolate those ones and get rid of the rest. I'll figure it out after these 12 episodes. Anyways, I've gotten off topic here. Back to the enclosure. I had the wild idea to include a couple of vivariums in it. A water one and an arboreal one. The water one I discovered the glaring issue of the bottom being just a black block I can't hide well, and just couldn't get it to work to my liking. But the arboreal vivarium worked great. Bringing it close enough to the enclosure's edge that the guests could see it works as a guest interactable. I went with the faux tree option in it and added some dead trees around at the end of the build, and chose some theme-appropriate plants. I have to say, the flexibility that these vivariums have, that I can use it in this matter, makes me so incredibly happy. And I'm going to definitely use them a lot to give a look that birds or small mammals might share the space with these dinosaurs. Aside from that, I used some vivarium cladding as the back barrier with the intent that I wouldn't fill up the back with so many rocks and waste time. And then I went and covered it all in rocks and did my best not to waste time. I added in a waterfall that I ended up redoing a little bit towards the end, a small river with a pond and plants everywhere. The brush tool really helped me out in the time frame for this one. If I did my earlier style of planting, I would have been without time so soon. Even with the brush, I felt myself not wanting to spend too much time rearranging trees to make them look decent. I would have liked to add more details, but the time limit was there and I couldn't. I had planned to add rocks around the river, plants along the cliff, and wanted to put up some sort of shelter. But I did what I could, and I gotta say I'm really proud of the turnout. It looks interesting from the walkway, and you can see the interest points I was going for clearly, which is to say the feeding spaces, waterfall, and the in-between river. I'm looking forward to the rest of these episodes and seeing what I pull off, especially in the ones with longer times. I feel like the ones with the longer times I may end up finishing and then take the rest of the time I'd be finding ways to refine what I have. And while that's not a bad thing, I worry that it won't be an interesting video. So I hope the later videos are at least really time-consuming ideas. Or ideas in which I can try new things. Anyways, that's all I really have to say about this for now. I'll be making a space on my Discord specifically for this challenge where rules are located, and everyone can share images of this challenge specifically. The blank of the zoo will be uploaded at the same time this video goes live, so if you're watching this right now, link is below in the comments. If this is past the 12 weeks and you're joining now, you can still take the blank and make your own zoo, and feel free to share it on my Discord. I'm always happy to see what everyone else creates. With that said, please like, subscribe, and take care.